Welcome to Evolution on the Mic. I am your host, Ariana de la Cruz.
And I'm your co-host, Antoine Dove.
And we are back, season 5, The Leader in You, episode 7, Best Practices for Effective Decision Making when it comes to leadership. In our last episode, we discussed best practices for inspiring and motivating teams. Definitely recommend that you guys go back and check that out as we discuss in depth, like the things that you can do to inspire your team, to motivate them, to build morale up in your company, or, if you're in a leadership position. We gave some wonderful tips, some wonderful stories, that we've been through. So check it out if you didn't already. But on today's episode, we're going to be discussing best practices for effective decision making, because in leadership, we got to make hard decisions, and I want to make sure that you guys have some skills and perspectives on how to approach that. But before we get into all that, Antoine, how are you? How you been? How's your week been going?
The week is going great. All right, I don't know if you know this or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've had a lot that's gone on this past year. But right around this time last year, we were shooting our first podcast, our first episode,
Yes,
because
yes. Mm-hmm.
we launched at the end of the month, and so we had just finished our course, like David Chin's course, and we had just shot our like first, or we were getting ready or prepping to shoot our first podcast. We were putting together our notes and getting everything ready
Mm.
for that very first episode that we were shooting. And I don't know why that came to me, but beginning of December was right when we started. And I don't know, like it's wild to believe it's been an entire
Wow.
year that we've been doing this podcast show, releasing
Beautiful.
episodes every single week, sharing a part of our journey and where we've been and what we've experienced. And you guys have been along for the entire ride with us. Like you've been through the ups and the downs, the firing, the job opportunities, the business taking off, I mean, you've met all of our different friends and people in our circles that we, have introduced you guys to and their stories. I mean, this has been a wild,
Wow. It
wild
feels like it was
experience.
just yesterday though. Like I'm like, wow, it's been a year.
A year.
We've had our moments too, in the
Yeah.
podcast, you know what I mean? Because this was all new to us, coming up
Yeah.
with content and, every week making sure that, we're giving stuff of value and not just throwing stuff together, like, really giving it our attention and our mind and our hearts. And and it's been beautiful, but it does
Yeah.
not feel, I'm telling you right now, Antoine, it does not feel like a year that flew. I am just so grateful to have you in this, like helping me out so much, in this. And like just being a great supporter, of the podcast. Like you've just been so amazing, and you've honestly made it very smooth for me. I don't think I could have done this, on my own, and the podcast would not be the same without you here. So I'm so proud of
Ah,
us.
thank you.
I'm
Oh
so,
man, I know I am proud of us.
you
We
know
did it. Mama, we
what
did
I
it.
mean. And yes, it's very exciting, very like, like we do need to like sit with that and
Yeah.
recognize, how far we've come. I hope that you guys have noticed our growth. I hope that, you've felt, like you're part of something, and that something has also shifted and changed and grown within you as a person, because, that's why we're doing this. And, we're only going to get better, you know, year
Yeah.
2 is going to come just like that too. But it feels good to know, wow, we've been here a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely makes me proud. That definitely makes me happy. I want to celebrate all the wins and not just go through this process, running through it and not
Hmm.
taking those times. So thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't even I didn't even think about that.
It's wild.
So thank you for, mentioning that, because it is worth mentioning that it's been a year. And just with that, like, that made my day. And you,
It's
I feel really,
beautiful.
really good, really blessed, very excited to be doing this, this
Yeah.
God-led, faith-led, God-led podcast.
Yeah. And for all those 150 plus subscribers that have been here through the journey, thank you. Because I mean, we've not, from what I can tell, we've not lost anyone that have subscribed to our channel. And I just want to thank you guys for the support. I mean, this was something that Ari and I both talked about, prayed about, believed that God had put us on this journey, and he's shown it through and through. And when we first started this, we always said, like, if even if we just touch one person, that's all that matters to us. Like, we just want to fulfill something that God has called us to do. And all of you that have chose to subscribe and have chose to be here for this journey, I mean, you've seen it all, in this full year. And I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for your support. Truly.
Same here.
Thank
Same
you.
here. Thank you guys so much. Definitely appreciate you guys. And I hope you guys are enjoying, this season, the leader in you,
Let's
everything
go.
that we want to build in you guys and in your mindsets and your being of who you can be, of who God created you to be. There's nothing that's attainable. There's nothing that you can have or be or do, and, we're just here to spread that knowledge and to spread that light and to hopefully spark that in you and give you some tips and perspectives on how to get there, because it is possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know we've been talking about a lot of different topics within this leadership, and lately the last couple episodes have been focused on skill developing, finding ways to motivate more and encourage your team to continue to grow and be excited about the work. I think when I think about leadership and the times I've been in leadership, and even when I talk to other people, one
Mm-hmm.
of the toughest things sometimes is having to make decisions. Some decisions are easy, but to me, it's not the easy decisions. It's the tough decisions and how you respond when you're sharing information with team members, or when you're having to make a tough decision like a layoff and who's going to be laid off. It's when those situations present themselves that I think the true leadership skills start to show, because those are such delicate conversations. Those are things where, I mean, think about it. As a leader, you've built a team, you've built a community, as Ariana would say it in some of the other episodes, you've built a sense of family. And now
Mm-hmm.
you have to make a decision that is going to impact someone on your family. And you're making that decision. How do you go about doing that? How do you do it in a way in which you're not destroying what you've built? You've built this sense of culture, you built this sense of connectedness. How do you do it in a way that you don't destroy it? And I was curious. I know, Ariana, you've shared so much of your experience in the last company you've ran and all the other things that you've been doing, and also your extensive background as having your master's in leadership. Like, you get this stuff and you've seen it, you've studied it, you've looked at all kinds of case studies. I mean, how
Yeah.
does someone who is new in leadership, or maybe someone that's an old head, they've been in leadership for a while, like, how do they approach those type of conflict situations and those decisions where they have to communicate? Like, have you experienced that? Like, what have you learned from your experiences that's helped you through that process?
Yeah, so I mean, there's levels to the decision making that happens. Like you're saying, there's some that are just, not really impacting nobody. You can just make the decision, tell people and move on, right? But what I really want to hone in this episode, right, is those really complicated, really big, massive, changes, decisions that need to be made, and how to, come to a resolution where, everyone kind of feels heard, feels
Mhm.
seen, feels like they matter,
Mhm.
right? It because, there's tough things that happen, like as a business owner, right? And when you're managing a company or as a supervisor, there's things that happen. So there's levels to it. So I just want to go there. If you're just a supervisor, right, you're like the messenger, right? You are not really the one making the decisions, right? There's usually someone above you, maybe the operations person, that is like, hey, these are the things that need to happen. And then you have to convey that to the team, the people that are doing the work, right? And those people are the ones that matter the most, because they are the hands and feet of the job, right? Nothing happens if the workers ain't working. So, you have to convey this message. So at the level of the supervisor that needs to give information to the team of things that are about to change, at that point, like, they're the messengers. I don't think they're like the ones really making the decision. But if you are the one making the decision, if things that you're noticing, decisions that you need to make, things that need to shift, right, there is a way to come to this decision, right? In when we're in a job, we can sometimes see things in advance, and like we kind of get like the foresight of something needs to change here, something is not right, there's something going on, right? And I'm gonna go through the levels, but this is like
Mhm.
supervisor level, like you're gonna know things in advance, right? And the best thing that you can do is prepare your team for what is going on and what's about to change. You never want to surprise people with the shock of, we're making this decision, like we don't care what you think, and this is going to happen, and that's it, right? You want to prepare people for the information that you're about to give them. Hey, we've noticed X, Y, and Z going on, in the team. We've noticed the numbers of this, hasn't been, how it once were, and we're thinking of making changes. And then you lay out what those changes need to be, right? And you are now giving them the, oh, damn, like the numbers are bad. You show them in black and white. This is why as a supervisor, like you got to be good with Excel or Word or something, because you got to show facts. You got to show them this was how things were last month. This is where they're looking, like something needs to change. And when you are going to make that decision, you've already pre-warned them. Now they have some insight. Something isn't right. Something needs to change. And let's say you do need to let go of somebody. You have to make that decision, right? Like you've already set the stage. You've already kind of allowed the people to shift, to change, or if they stay the same, they're not going to be shocked at the news, because they're going to be like, well, at least Ariana told us last month in our meetings that the numbers weren't good, and nobody, maybe there was that one rotten apple, didn't change their attitude, didn't change their work performance. So when they get written up or they get late, they get fired or whatever the decision that is that you have to make, you've already communicated in advance of what had to change. You've already made it known as a team. You probably spoke to that person, directly. So making those decisions when it comes to something like that won't come as a shocker. The main thing is letting people know what's going on well in advance of that, making that decision, so that they know what's coming up. They know what's up. They're not going to be shocked. And, people are going to respect that. They're going to respect the fact that this was something that was prefaced to us. This was something that they kind of prepared us for. And, we didn't really change up. We didn't really take action. We didn't do the things that we needed to do to avoid this. So that is one thing that I would say at that level. And in any level, you always want to prepare your people. But let's say you are the owner of the company, right? And you are speaking to the people below you, and let's say the operations people, and then the operations people are responsible for the supervisors. The supervisor is responsible for the people that are taking care of the day-to-day. So if you're that person making those decisions, what happens a lot of the times is that they're making decisions, communicating them to the operations people, and the last people to get to know what's going on is the people in the front line. And sometimes even the supervisor. They're in the dark, and that creates fear, right? That creates anxiety, that creates like, a culture of scarcity. Like, what's going on? Like, this just shifted like so quick. Like, I thought everything was good. Like, I didn't know that they were going to make this massive change. Like, I'm already overwhelmed in what I'm doing. I don't think I can do things in a different way. Like, this is too sudden. And what you can do as the owner of a company, you see things in advance. You know what's going on. As a business owner, you can see things coming. And the best thing that you can do in that moment is convey that message to the people below you, but make sure that they convey the message to the people below them and to the people on the front line, so that everybody knows in advance things are about to change. There's tough decisions that we're going to have to make, and outline what that might look like. Outline how that might impact or not. Because if you don't, people are going to start looking for the jobs like, oh, there's a big change coming, or there's a merger coming, or, they're about to, shift departments. Like they don't know. The frontliners peoples, they're going to assume the worst, right? Meanwhile, the head boss has no intention of letting nobody go. Let's say it's just things are going to change, maybe different systems. Like they're going to bring new people in. But what is the people on the front lines thinking in their fear? Oh, we might get laid off. They might let some people go. They're about to change. They're bringing new people in. Like, I'm going to go look for another job. So the way that you can avoid that when things are going to change or you have to make decisions is making sure that you are transparent, right? This is where the transparent, being transparent, being authentic leadership comes into play. You have a meeting. You communicate the things that are about to happen, the things that you see changing, so that everybody is aware. And then you say how that might impact or not. Give people ease that we're not looking to let anybody go, but this will impact you. You might need to work a little longer hours, you might feel a little more overwhelmed than usual because, this shift and change is coming so rapidly. But, nobody has to be concerned about their job being on the line. Now you give people like, I can relax. Like, I'm not going to get, nothing's going to happen. And so that's the main thing, that you want to communicate well in advance of a change happening or decisions of things that are about to happen, so that people can relax and they can know, okay, things are happening, but at least I'm in the loop. They care enough for me to let us know. Right? Like, that is like the main thing in any level that you want to do. Another thing that's important when you're in that situation of giving the feedback of what's about to happen is, once you give the news and you notice that there's some people that are freaking out still, even though you've said, hey, nobody's going to get laid off. Like, things are just going to change. It's going to be hectic for a while. But you see some people are on edge, like, oh my God, I don't want to work here no more because this is too much. It's too much work. Now they're going to want more of me. Like, I don't want to learn something new. You open up the space of conversation in whatever level you're in, as a supervisor, operations, if you're the owner, you open up the space for people to ask questions, right? How are you feeling? What is the thing that you fear most? Like, okay, you're overwhelmed. Okay, what is it that you have going on? Okay, adding this new thing might add an extra hour to your plate, but maybe, you can assess the things that they're doing and how they're doing it. Oh, I can free an hour away from you because that is not really as urgent. We just really need to, incorporate something new that's going to take an hour a day more, but maybe that we don't have to do, right? And maybe you relieve them of, oh, okay, because sometimes when you're in a job, you cannot see things the way maybe your supervisor can, or your boss can. Like, sometimes you're just seeing things in a panic, and you just get into like survival mode, and you're not thinking outside the box on how to find the resolution to make it work. But as a good supervisor, as a good boss, as a good leader, right, you want to be able to set the stage, one, of openness, of communication, that they can come and talk to you about their concerns, and two, helping them rearrange maybe their schedule, what they're doing, to be like, hey, this can fit, and that can help relieve them, because it's like, okay, like, I was just stressed, overwhelmed, I can't even think clearly, but thank you for helping me relax me and helping me with my perspectives, so that, when those changes are start really impacting us, I have a game plan, because that's very important. A lot of times, these companies, they make changes and they don't let nobody know, but they've known for months, because they don't care about the bottom line. They don't care about the people on the front line. And that is wrong. That's why you have these companies that have a really high turnover, because they're making decisions that are going to impact, and not letting the people know how it's going to impact them, or what might change, or how things might look on their day to day that are differently, but to not worry that they're not alone. Like, we're going to help them get through it, and, help them, with the new way of doing things, that is going to be okay. And they don't do that. And I've been in that position, you know what I mean, where things are changing and I'm getting told, today we got to do this, tomorrow we got to do that, by next week that is happening too. And I'm just like, where you want me? I'm overwhelmed. Like, I want another job. I can't be here no more. I've been there, so I know that feeling. And the only thing that I can ask for in that moment is like, if only you had given me time. And this is what I would tell myself: if only you had given me time, maybe a month in advance of all these things, I would have been better prepared to handle them when they happen. But you want to tell me the day of, or the day before? I'm freaking out, because I feel like you really don't care about me, right? You really don't care how this is impacting me. You don't know what else I have going on, right? Or what I have on my plate already in this company, and you changing stuff or making these decisions and not including me, or letting me know, give me a heads up, right? So I noticed how important that is. I hope that makes sense. I know I said a lot,
Yeah.
but
No, it makes a lot of sense. And one of the things I'd point out, again, because you may be listening to this, and maybe you're a new leader, like maybe you just recently were promoted into a leadership role. I think all of what you're saying, Ariana, plays out to, like, what your experiences has been when you're on the front lines, and then you get the chance to become a supervisor, you get the chance to be in a leadership role. One of the reasons you become a leader is because you have the opportunity to affect change. I think when you think about some of the greatest leaders out there, they find ways to affect change. And so maybe part of it that happens in some of these larger companies, and I've experienced this sometimes, is at a certain level, people get so far removed from the front line that they forget what that experience is like, or they forget what changing this could mean for the entire team. And I love what you had said earlier, where you were saying how like nothing's above you. If you have to work on the front line, you'd work on the front line. And I think that's in all, what it takes for be a true leader is you have to understand all of the parts of the business. And
Yeah.
when you get into that role and decisions are being made, asking those questions. If we change this, how does this impact this? If this is changed, what does that mean for this person? What does that mean for this role? Because in the end of the day, I think when delivering a message, part of the other piece of calming people's minds is being able to have the answers to some of the questions that they have. You may not have all of them, but being able to answer a few of them. And the most important one is, what does this mean for me? I think, and
Yeah.
if you can convey what this means for you, and then conveying it in a way that they understand that, hey, like this is going to be a big change. Here's what it means for you, and giving them the opportunity to make the decision that's best for them. Because in some cases, sad as it is, there's really no way around it. Like sometimes cuts just have to be made, or
Yeah.
sometimes this change has to be made. And in making that change, it could be negative. Like for somebody, it may mean that now, like I remember I worked for this one company and they asked us, because we were having a tough financial time, they asked all of the management team to cut their salaries in half for like a couple months. They were like, hey, for the next 2 months, we need everyone at this leadership level and above. You guys need to just like take a 50% cut. The reason we're doing this is so that we don't have to cut other people below you. And as a leader, like that's a tough, that's a tough hit, especially when you have bills and you have everything that you have that's planned out. But like, I think giving people that option to say, like, this is the decision we have to make. Here's why we have to make it. Now you have to make a decision. Are you able to deal with this, or you need to go someplace else? And they have to make that decision. I
Yeah.
think part of it is giving people, like you said, all of the information so they're not shocked, and giving it to them in far in advance so that they can plan
Yeah.
accordingly to make those decisions.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Like you hit it on the head, you know. If you're gonna make a decision that's gonna impact somebody, it's being transparent, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a company, like I've been saying, like I strive to be, transparent. I want to be able to, everybody knows what's going on. These are the things that are gonna change well in advance and how it's gonna impact them, but also how it's gonna benefit them, right? Because some changes are also on the flip side to them. We might need to learn a new software in the
Mm-hmm.
next month, but that software is going to reduce your time of how to do something maybe in half, because this new system, it incorporates a lot of the processes and is going to significantly reduce the time that you spend doing certain things, right, working on
Mm-hmm.
certain projects or whatever. So I think, but still, that's still fear, right? I
Mm-hmm.
remember when COVID hit and I had to switch all the processes in our company, because we're in property management, so we had to see clients in person and tour them for
Mm-hmm.
apartments, blah blah blah. And we had to change everything from home and have all these different softwares. And so even though eventually it was a very good thing, in the beginning it was very scary. I was
Mm-hmm.
used to doing something a certain way. That was ingrained in me. And even though the new way was much easier on me, right? I no longer had to go out and tour people or see anybody in person. Everything was just through the phone, through text, through email, having them tour themselves through a for like a lockbox that we just, the code changes per tour. Yeah, it made things a lot easier for me, but to get there was scary,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something very sudden that I had to adjust to, and there wasn't much warning signs, but sometimes it happens that way, but it is for the good. And if it is something that you do have time to tell your people, take advantage of that time and tell them. And yes, you might lose one or two people because they're like, this is not a change that I'm willing to undergo. But that's when you notice, damn, this person is not acting right. They're not, I think they're upset. I think they're very
Mm-hmm.
concerned. And you have that one-on-one with that person. And then maybe you can turn somebody that was about to go put resumes out to like, okay, I can stay here. Like, it's not as bad as I thought. As bad as it would impact me, it's not as bad. So I just think like having a good communication when it comes to conflict resolution, when it comes to making decisions, like, you know, try to make the decisions, including people and including the people that are working for you, is very beneficial. Even if you lose somebody, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to keep somebody in there because you kind of forcing their hand because you didn't give them advance notice and now they don't have, you don't want to do that either. It's not right.
All right. 100% agree.
So remember, you guys, when you want to have decision making, if you're a supervisor, if you're an owner of a company, or even your household, and things are about to change, communicate things in advance. Talk to the people that are going to be the most impacted by your decisions, and giving them time to marinate the new way of being, the new way of doing things, because it's going to help them be equipped to handle those changes when the time comes. Okay, so that is, what we're really trying to convey here. And it could be in a job, but it could be in your personal life too. You know what I mean? Communication is key. Communication is key. Communication is key. So I hope you guys got, as much out of this as we did, in creating this and conveying this message of how to effectively make decisions. So as usual, you guys, if you have any thoughts, comments, or anything that you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. And with that, thank you for tuning in. And until our next episode, always remember that having faith in God, having faith in yourself, and having faith in others will create the evolution that you are seeking.